Scene: morning in a modern city apartment. The morning sun filtered gently through the large glass windows of a stylish, high-rise apartment. Everything in the space spoke of elegance and control, from the neat bookshelves to the minimalist decor. At the center of it all stood Elena Verma, a woman in her early 30s, dressed sharply in a tailored blazer, a cup of coffee in one hand and a phone in the other. Elena was the image of calm efficiency. Her mornings were routine: yoga at 6 a.m., a smoothie by 7, emails answered by 7:30, and out the door by 8. As she moved through her apartment, a quiet confidence followed her. Her apartment, much like her life, was a reflection of structure and success. Every object had its place, just like every piece of her public image. By profession, Elena was a successful legal consultant, highly sought after in corporate circles. Known for her sharp intellect and unwavering composure, she had built her reputation on clean wins and clean ethics. People admired her discipline and envied her independence. She had no close family around and rarely spoke of her past, which only added to the air of mystery that surrounded her. As she looked into the mirror, applying the final touches to her subtle makeup, her phone buzzed. A message from her assistant. Client meeting moved to 10. Everything else is on schedule. She smiled briefly. Everything was on track, just how she liked it. But beneath the polished exterior, Elena occasionally felt the weight of something she couldn't quite name. It came like a flicker, on quiet nights or in the background of a familiar song, an echo of something long buried. She always brushed it aside. After all, she had crafted a life far away from whatever she once was. With a final glance at her reflection, Elena grabbed her bag and keys. She stepped into the hallway, locking the door behind her, completely unaware that her carefully guarded world was about to unravel. The past she had so meticulously erased was already on its way back, closer than she could imagine. Scene: later that week, Elena's office and surroundings. It began subtly. Elena sat at her glass desk, reviewing a merger agreement. Her office, much like her apartment, reflected a precise modern aesthetic. The soft hum of the city below was her usual soundtrack, but today, a courier arrived with an envelope, no return address. Inside was a faded photo, a group of children standing in front of a small village school. One of them, young, barefoot, and unmistakably her. Her fingers froze. For a moment, the room fell away, replaced by a dusty path, children's laughter, and the stinging smell of smoke from a nearby wood fire. She blinked and shook her head, returning to the present. She slid the photo into her drawer and locked it, her breath shallow. The following day, she noticed a figure across the street from her building, a man in a gray hoodie, standing still, staring up at her window. He didn't wave. He didn't move. When she looked again, he was gone. Later, during a meeting with a new client, her world shifted again. "Your name?" "Elena Verma. Ever been to Satpura?" the man asked casually, scanning the contract. Elena's expression didn't change, but her heartbeat skipped. "No," she said quickly. "Why?" The man shrugged. "You just remind me of someone from there. Long time ago." She brushed it off with a tight smile, but the damage was done. That name, Satpura, wasn't supposed to come up. Not here. Not in this life. That night, she opened an old trunk hidden in her storage closet. Inside were things she had promised never to look at again: an old diary, a rusted necklace, and a worn-out notebook filled with sketches. She touched them like they were dangerous, each item a trigger for a memory she had sealed away. And then her phone rang. No caller ID. She picked up. A distorted voice whispered, "You thought you could bury it, didn't you?" Her blood turned cold. She didn't sleep that night. The past wasn't just knocking, it was crawling back into her present life, piece by piece. And Elena, for all her poise and precision, realized she was no longer in control. Scene: evening. Elena's apartment lobby. The automatic doors slid open as Elena stepped into the building's dimly lit lobby. Her heels clicked sharply against the marble floor, echoing louder than usual. It had been a long day, her thoughts haunted by the photo, the voice on the phone, and the name from the past. She just wanted silence, a glass of wine, and solitude. But someone was waiting. A tall man leaned casually against the marble pillar near the elevator, his face partially hidden under the brim of a cap. As soon as he looked up, Elena stopped mid-step. Her breath caught. The man gave a faint, almost mocking smile. "It's been a long time, Mira." That name, Mira, one she hadn't heard in over a decade, one she had buried with everything else in that cursed village. She straightened, masking the fear that surged beneath her calm exterior. "You must be mistaken." "Am I?" he said, stepping forward. "Or did you just change your name and forget where you came from?" Elena glanced around the lobby. The security guard was gone. The cameras were too high to catch their faces clearly. "You have no right to be here," she said, voice cold. "But I do," he replied, "because I know who you really are, and I know what you did." Her composure cracked for the briefest moment. "What do you want?" He slipped a small envelope into her hand. "Think of this as a reminder. More to come." Before she could respond, he turned and walked out into the night, disappearing as quickly as he had appeared. Elena looked down at the envelope. Her fingers trembled as she opened it. Inside was a single, chilling item, a newspaper clipping from 13 years ago. Headline, "Village Girl Disappears After Fire Kills 3. Below it, a blurry photo of her, young, wide-eyed, and terrified. Her past had a face now. She rushed into the elevator, hands shaking. As the doors closed, her reflection stared back at her. Calm on the outside, chaos within. This wasn't just a memory resurfacing, it was a reckoning. Someone new, someone had come back, and whatever Elena, Mira, had buried all those years ago was about to rise again. Scene. Night. Elena's bedroom. The city outside was quiet, wrapped in the stillness of early dawn, but inside her apartment Elena tossed restlessly in bed, sweat clinging to her skin despite the cool air. Her eyelids fluttered as fragments of memory played like broken film reels behind them. Flashback, a dirt road, small huts lined along either side. Chickens scatter as a girl runs barefoot, young Mira, no more than 15. Her breathing is panicked, her clothes torn, her hands stained with soot. A scream in the distance, then flames. A small house burning, faces shouting, crying. A woman wailing, "Where is she? Where's the girl?" Mira hides behind a haystack, clutching a small notebook, the same one now buried in her storage closet. Her lips tremble, her eyes wide with terror. Smoke clouds the air. People run past her, some trying to douse the fire, others searching for someone. For her. Then, a voice, male, urgent. "You have to leave now. If they find you, they'll kill you." She turns. It's the same man who appeared in her lobby. Younger. No cap. Just desperation in his eyes. "I didn't mean to," she whispers. "I know. But that doesn't matter now. Come." Back to present. Elena jerks awake with a strangled gasp. Her sheets are twisted, her forehead damp. The shadows of the room feel too heavy. She sits up, clutching her chest, breathing hard. She gets out of bed and walks to the kitchen, pours herself a glass of water with shaky hands. The cool liquid steadies her for a moment, but then she sees it. The newspaper clipping, now pinned under a fridge magnet. She had locked it away. How had it gotten here? She backs away slowly, the water glass slipping from her hand and shattering on the floor. She wasn't dreaming anymore. The memories were real. She walks to the mirror, searching her own face. Elena, the successful professional, polished and poised. But beneath it, she can see Mira, the frightened village girl who ran from fire, from blood, from guilt. The past wasn't just in her dreams now. It was starting to invade her reality, and the more she remembered, the closer it seemed to get. Scene. A week later, Elena's office and personal life unraveling. Elena sat at the head of the conference table, but today her usual commanding presence was absent. Her fingers nervously tapped the pen in her hand, her eyes drifting frequently to the glass doors. Every sudden movement in the hallway made her flinch. Her team exchanged glances. "Ms. Verma," her assistant prompted gently, "you've been staring at page 3 for 10 minutes. Shall we—" "I know," Elena snapped, louder than intended. She cleared her throat. "Sorry, let's continue." But she couldn't focus. The numbers blurred, the voices felt distant. The weight of secrets clawed at her from within. Sleep-deprived nights, the whispers in her hallway, the mysterious notes slipped under her door. Her firm had begun to notice. The managing partner had called her in earlier that morning. "You're distracted, Elena, not like you. Clients have complained. This isn't you." She had nodded, mumbled something about personal stress, promised to recalibrate. But even as she spoke, her mind played flashes of that burning house, of someone screaming her name in the dark. At home, things were no better. Her boyfriend, Rohan, stood in the kitchen holding a packed overnight bag. "Talk to me, Elena. What's going on? You barely sleep, you jump at every knock, and now you've locked that closet like it's hiding a corpse." Her silence was answer enough. "I love you," he said softly, "but I feel like I'm living with a stranger." She didn't stop him when he left. Later that night, she tried to meditate, but the quiet made it worse. Whispers crept into her mind, shadows at the edge of her vision. Her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. "You're slipping, Mira." Tick-tock. She dropped the phone, breathing hard. The walls of her carefully built life were cracking. Work, love, even her own sense of safety, slipping like sand through her fingers. In the mirror, she saw herself again, pale, haunted, not Elena the professional, but Mira the runaway, the girl with a secret she never confessed. For the first time in years, she spoke her old name aloud, Mira, and the sound of it made her feel like a ghost of herself. Scene, early morning, law firm conference room. The room was packed. Elena stood at the far end, eyes hollow, hands clenched tightly at her sides. Across from her were partners of the firm, a couple of clients, and her assistant, each with varying expressions of confusion, disbelief, and betrayal. On the screen behind her, someone had projected an article. The headline glared in bold, "Corporate legal star Elena Verma actually Mira Joshi, fugitive tied to Satpura fire tragedy." Beneath it, a side-by-side photo comparison, her recent professional headshot beside the grainy image from the old newspaper clipping. Someone had leaked it. Elena stood frozen, her mind a whirlwind of panic. The whispers grew louder. Is this real? She changed her identity? Wasn't that fire arson? 3 people died. A senior partner broke the silence. "Elena, we deserve an explanation." She inhaled shakily. Her voice, when it came, was raw and heavy. "My name was Mira Joshi. I lived in Satpura. I ran away when I was 15, after a fire that destroyed half our village and killed my mother, my stepfather, and my younger brother." Gasps, murmurs. Even her assistant stepped back a little. "I didn't set the fire," she continued, "but I was blamed. There was abuse in the house, years of it. The night of the fire, I fought back. I ran. Hours later, the house burned. People thought I did it." A pause. Her eyes welled, but she didn't look away. "I survived by becoming someone else. I changed my name, my records. I built a new life. I thought it was over." A partner scoffed. "So, you ran from a murder scene, lied your way into the profession, and hoped it'd never catch up?" "I was a child," she said, her voice breaking. "I was scared, and alone. Still doesn't make you innocent." The room erupted in low voices. Her world spun. Clients walked out. Her phone buzzed again with dozens of missed calls, messages, and now, news alerts. Her secret was out. The headlines would follow her now. Her career was hanging by a thread. But strangely, in the middle of all the chaos, she felt something unfamiliar. Relief. The lie was over, but so was everything she had built. Scene. Abandoned house on the outskirts of the city. Dusk. The wind howled through the broken windows as Elena stepped inside. Dust floated in the dim golden light. It was the address scrawled on the last note she received. "You owe me the truth." No name. But she knew who she would find. He was already there, sitting on a collapsed wooden chair, facing away from her. The man from the lobby, the one from the flashbacks. Arjun. "You came," he said without turning. "I had no choice," she replied, her voice tight. He stood and faced her, his eyes older but still burning with the anger of youth. "You disappeared, left everything behind, and now you're a polished lawyer pretending none of it happened." "I didn't pretend," she snapped. "I survived." He stepped forward. "You think you were the only one who suffered? I was beaten for not turning you in. My family was ruined. People still whisper my name like a curse because I helped you run." Tears welled in Elena's eyes. "I never asked you to take the blame." "But you let me," he said, voice trembling. "You ran. I stayed. I paid silence stretched between them like a wound that had never closed." "I didn't start the fire," she said finally. "But I didn't stop it either. He hit my brother that night. My mother screamed. I lit the lamp and threw it. I didn't mean to. It just—" "You caused it," he said. 3 people died, Elena." "I was a child," she cried. "A child pushed to her edge. I didn't know what I was doing." Arjun's eyes softened, just a flicker, but his pain remained. "I lost everything too," she whispered. "I lost my family, my name, my peace. I've lived every day afraid of this moment. You think I've had it easy?" He looked away. "I didn't come for revenge, Mira. I came for acknowledgement, for truth. That's all I ever wanted." She stepped closer, tears falling freely now. "Then here it is. I did it. I ran. I lied. And I'm sorry." They stood there, broken pieces of the same past, finally spoken aloud. Neither whole, neither innocent. Just 2 survivors. Scene, midnight. Elena's apartment and airport. Elena packed hurriedly, her hands trembling as she stuffed clothes into a worn suitcase. The weight of the confrontation with Arjun still pressed heavily on her chest. The news stories had exploded overnight, headlines screaming her real identity and the tragedy she had tried to escape. She couldn't stay. Not here, not now. Her phone buzzed again, this time a barrage of messages from journalists, former colleagues, even police inquiries. Someone had filed a formal investigation into the fire. Every call was a reminder that her past was closing in. She paused, staring at her reflection in the hallway mirror. The woman staring back was exhausted and broken, but still determined. She grabbed her passport, wallet, and a small, locked box, the only keepsake she refused to leave behind. At the airport, Elena moved quickly through the terminal, heart pounding, glancing over her shoulder. Security cameras followed her every step. She had booked a one-way ticket to a country far away, hoping to vanish once again. But just as she approached the boarding gate, a firm hand gripped her arm. "Ms. Verma, please come with me." Her breath hitched. It was an immigration officer, but behind him stood a group of police officers and a reporter's camera crew. "No," she whispered, pulling back. "It's over, Elena. You can't run anymore." Tears blurred her vision as the crowd closed in. All the running, all the hiding, it had come to this. Her desperate attempt to escape had failed. Back in her apartment, a few hours earlier, she had tried calling Rohan, her boyfriend, hoping for one last chance to explain, to beg him to understand. But he never answered. Now, as she was led away in handcuffs, Elena realized the harsh truth. No matter where she ran, the past had already caught her, and this time, it wouldn't let go. Scene, courtroom, day. The room was silent, heavy with anticipation. Elena sat at the defendant's table, her hands folded, face pale but resolute. Reporters filled the back rows, their cameras flashing intermittently. The judge's gavel struck once, calling the courtroom to order. The prosecutor stood and began, painting Elena as a liar, a fugitive who destroyed her past and deceived everyone around her. Elena's lawyer whispered urgently, "Do you want to make a statement?" She nodded slowly, knowing this moment would define her future. Rising, Elena faced the judge and jury, voice steady despite the pounding in her chest. "I am Mira Joshi, I am Elena Verma. Both names belong to me. She took a deep breath. When I was 15, I survived a tragedy that destroyed my family and my village. I made mistakes, terrible ones, but I did not start the fire intentionally. I ran because I was scared and alone, not because I wanted to escape justice. For years, I built a new life, hoping to heal and to do right by others. Her eyes swept the courtroom, locking briefly with Arjun's, who sat quietly in the gallery. Today, I stand here to face my past, not to deny it, but to accept responsibility for my actions and to ask for a chance to make amends. The courtroom was still. Then murmurs spread. The prosecutor scoffed. And yet you hid from the law for over a decade. Elena replied firmly, I hid because I didn't know how else to survive. But hiding does not erase the pain or the lessons I've learned. The judge nodded slowly. Your honesty today will be considered carefully. Later, as the judge prepared to deliver a ruling, Elena felt a strange calm. She had chosen truth over escape, survival over denial. Her world might never be the same, but for the first time in years, she was free. Not from her past, but from the fear of it. Scene, courtroom and aftermath. Late afternoon. The judge's voice echoed through the packed courtroom, calm but firm. After considering the evidence and Ms. Verma's, formerly Meera Joshi's, testimony, this court finds that while her past actions contributed to a tragic event, her years of remorse and positive contributions to society are undeniable. A hush fell. Therefore, Ms. Verma will serve a reduced sentence, with provisions for community service and counseling. This sentence acknowledges both justice and the possibility of rehabilitation. Elena exhaled deeply, a mixture of relief and sorrow flooding her chest. The weight she had carried for so long was beginning to lift, but the road ahead was still steep. Outside the courthouse, cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions, but Elena remained silent, flanked by her lawyer and a quiet Arjun, who gave her a subtle nod, an unspoken sign of tentative forgiveness. Days later, Elena stood at a community center, leading a workshop for at-risk youth. She spoke openly about mistakes, fear, and the courage to face one's past. Her voice trembled sometimes, but her message was clear. Redemption is possible, but it requires honesty and responsibility. Yet not all her former acquaintances accepted her return. Some doors stayed closed, some relationships irreparably broken. As night fell, Elena sat alone on a rooftop, gazing at the city lights. Her future was uncertain. Punishment had been dealt, but healing would take longer. Whether her story was one of redemption or ruin depended now on the choices she made moving forward. One thing was clear: the past had shaped her, but it would no longer define her.